Hi guys, it's ASBYT and this is my take on the top or best smartphones that are available in 2021 so far. We've got some flagships, we've got some great budget options, and we've also got some alternative hidden gems that might float your boat. And as a special bonus, I've also got some that haven't actually launched yet, but are on the horizon very soon, and they look incredible. So if you're looking to possibly drop your hard-earned cash on a new shiny handset, hopefully this video will help you. Now I have made dedicated reviews on a lot of these devices already, so definitely check those videos out if you do like one of the options on this list and want more information. And also, I'm looking to do this style of video maybe twice or 3 times this year, so at any one time in the year, hopefully you will know what's hot right now and what's hot and coming in the future. If you want to see that, definitely subscribe so you know when those videos are uploaded. Plus, to each and every new subscriber, I will be giving you 1,000 UK pounds. Disclaimer, this may or may not be true. It's not true. Don't do it for the money. So up first, we have the brand new iPhone. Look at that. We used to use these things. Look at it. Or this. It's another good one for 2021. Who had this one? Come on. In all seriousness, the first one on the list is a very well-known phone from a very well-known brand, the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra. Of course, done a few videos on this already, but the key takeaways are, number one, its 6.8-inch AMOLED display is probably the best on the market. Quad HD Plus resolution with 120Hz refresh rate, it's incredibly bright, vibrant, buttery smooth on the scroll, all the classic tech cliches you can say about a phone display, it has. It's great. On top of that, you have a very, very solid 5000 mAh battery capacity. In terms of camera, you have 4 lenses to float your boat. The ultra-wide angle lens also doubles as a macro shooter, so you can get really up close and personal with the great outdoors, and the 2 optical and periscope zoom lenses at 3 times and 10 times respectively offer brilliant stability all the way up to 100 times zoom if you decide you would like the idea of being a budding astronomer. It's running on Android 11 with Samsung's latest One UI software with up to 16GB of RAM, 512GB of storage, and it has an IP68 water and dust resistant rating. Great stereo speakers, 8K video, and a really nice all-round premium build. It doesn't have a micro SD card slot anymore, Samsung have dropped that, and it's pretty expensive as well. Just something to consider. Next up, we have the Xiaomi Mi 11, and this phone, for the money, is awesome. It's approximately 2/3 the price of the Galaxy S21 Ultra, and in many ways, it's very similar. Snapdragon 888 chipset, a 6.8-inch Quad HD AMOLED display with 120Hz refresh rate, and a 108-megapixel primary camera sensor. This is combined with an ultra-wide lens as well as a macro, completing the triple camera lens array. And while there is no telephoto lens here for optical zoom, which is a little bit disappointing, on the whole, you can take some really fantastic shots. 12GB of RAM, 256GB max storage, and a 4600 mAh battery cell with fast wide and wireless charging. Stereo speakers, and it is a really beautiful design. If you liked curved edges, of course, subjective. The software is MIUI 12 over Android 11, and Xiaomi makes some of the most fluid and feature-rich OSs going. There has historically been a fair amount of bloatware apps on Xiaomi smartphones, something that apparently is being looked at with the MIUI 12.5 update. Apparently they are reducing this, and also it's not quite as close to stock Android as some would prefer, but some people swear by Xiaomi's MIUI. One reason I possibly might not pick up the Xiaomi Mi 11 right now is that there is heavy rumours that a Pro variant or Ultra model is on the horizon very, very soon with an upgraded camera unit, for example, with a higher price as well, but it would be interesting to see how they develop that to decide which one to go for. Now we jump onto another very, very popular brand, OnePlus. They managed in 2020 to produce one of the best smartphones going in the OnePlus 8 Pro here, but today we turn our attention to what's next. Of course, the OnePlus 9 Pro. Firstly, it seems, according to the latest leaks, OnePlus, for their next device at least anyway, are not looking to follow the trend of dropping the charger. But outside of that, it also looks like there's going to be a few pretty nice refinements from the OnePlus 8 Pro, without being a huge overhaul. So a few core focuses, mainly camera and battery tech, with all the 2021 upgraded spec bumps. Snapdragon 888, Quad HD Plus AMOLED display with a 120Hz refresh rate in a beautiful little package. Sounds a bit weird. Gonna move on, I think. The apparent 4500 mAh battery cell doesn't sound the most promising, but not terrible and still pretty decent, but it's more the camera I think we may see some huge improvements, and that's exciting. There is a strong rumour OnePlus will be partnering with Swedish camera manufacturer Hasselblad to help take their smartphone camera to the next level. Of course, if you know Hasselblad, I think I've pronounced that right, they make incredibly expensive bits of kit. They know what they're talking about, so hopefully they can bring some of that expertise to the next OnePlus phone. 65-watt fast charging and wireless charging will also be included in the new lineup, apparently, so overall, I'm very excited. Very quickly, if you're enjoying this video so far, a sub would be awesome. Next up is a very interesting one, and it's split into two parts. One is the phone I have here, and second is what's next from the company as they look to address certain issues they may have had with this one. This phone is not the greatest in certain areas, but the one key area it focuses on really pushes the boundaries and gives us a glimpse into the future of smartphones. I am, of course, talking about the ZTE Axon 20 5G. Specs-wise, it's good but not great with a Snapdragon 765G chipset and a 4220 mAh battery cell, with a 90Hz refresh rate Full HD OLED panel being, again, good, not great, and the rear camera, even though it offers great variety with its 4 lenses, it's not the most amazing. So you might be thinking, why is this phone on this list? Well, it's what's under the display that's important here. This is the world's first phone to have a usable front-facing camera buried under that actual display, so that we just have all screen and no pop-up camera or notches or punch holes in sight. I do use the term usable front camera a little bit loosely because it's not the most amazing in terms of quality, but again, the technology to fit a camera that comes through the display and allows you to have that fully bezel-less experience is really, really impressive, and make no doubt about it, this kind of technology is being experimented with by the likes of Samsung, Apple, Huawei, etc. So yeah, to get there first is great, and ZTE might not finish there because they are apparently in the process of making the ZTE Axon 30 Pro, which will apparently be the first Snapdragon 888 smartphone with an under-the-display camera. And on top of that, it's apparently going to have a 200 megapixel rear camera. So again, excited. Next up, we have a budget monster. And this came out late last year, but still right now, I'm struggling to find one that's quite as good in this area of the sub £200 market. Possibly could have gone with the Xiaomi Mi 10T Lite or the Redmi Note 9 Pro or 9S or some of the Realme 7 series phones. They all have their merits, but I've gone with this one for this video. So what do we get for our £200? Well, for starters, there is a 5160 mAh battery cell, massive, a Qualcomm Snapdragon 732G chip, which is upper mid-tier in terms of performance, a 120Hz Full HD Plus LCD display, and a quad camera setup, which yes is not amazing, but it offers decent versatility to get creative. It's a great all-round package for the money and definitely worth a check out. Beep. Beep. Check out. That's so bad. Next up, we have another phone that is on the horizon very, very soon. It is the Huawei P50 Pro. Huawei have been a controversial choice from a software point of view over the last year or so due to the US and subsequent Google ban. But before we touch more on what is to come from a software point of view with the Huawei P50 Pro, let's look at some of the potential hardware. Camera is always a huge focus of the P series of Huawei devices, and the P50 Pro will be no different. A leaked photo of the device has surfaced and, if real, showcases a look at a 5-camera array by the looks of things, made up of a primary, an ultra-wide, a periscope zoom lens, as well as a possible macro and time of flight or depth sensor, completing the setup. Huawei always roll their new chipsets from their Mate series onto the P series, so we will be seeing the Kirin 9000, a fantastic 5nm chip, hugely impressive and competes with the likes of the latest from Apple and Samsung and Qualcomm, etc. Leaked renders suggest the idea first started with the P40 Pro, of course, to design the phone with a quad curved display may continue, and the launch date is due to be in March. In terms of that software and elephant in the room, the Google ban, as far as we know right now, is still in place and will continue to be in place. Quite whether that is due to change in the coming future months is anyone's guess, but right now it seems they may be launching the P50 Pro in 2 different variants. One with Android and one with Harmony OS. The Android, of course, will be running using the Huawei App Gallery and not the Google Play Store. Harmony OS, we don't really know that much about it currently right now. I'm very excited to see what it is and what it becomes. Whether we do see two variants is another matter. Again, it's kind of a watch this space. Now, the next slot to fill, we actually have 3 phones. I know it's a bit strange, but that's the way we're going to do it because they are all, in their own way, quite similar. They're all fitting into that great value for money, mid to budget priced phones. And they all do their own things really, really well, each offering something a little bit different. So first we have the Samsung S20 FE or Fan Edition. For a mid-range price, you have last year's flagship chip, the Snapdragon 865. You have a great multifunctional triple camera with a 12 megapixel primary, an 8 megapixel ultra wide and a 12 megapixel telephoto offering 3 times optical zoom. It's not fancy, it's not bells and whistles in the camera department, but it does all the major things that most people want. Pretty great standard lens, an ultra wide, which everyone seems to be all the rage in using, and a zoom lens. What more do you necessarily need in a phone? When you then factor in it has a 120Hz AMOLED display, stereo speakers, a 4500 mAh battery with fast and wireless charging, you've got a brilliant contender for best all-round phone, budget included, still right now. On a similar vein of thought of being great in most areas and a great all-round phone, we have the OnePlus Nord. A really impressive phone for the price, looks and feels really premium, great design, nice 90Hz AMOLED display, a 48 megapixel camera setup, and up to 12 gigabytes of RAM. Yes, it doesn't have stereo speakers or an optical zoom lens, for example, and the battery at 4115 mAh is kind of just okay in terms of capacity, but the upper mid-range chip, the Snapdragon 765G, is actually surprisingly really powerful for what most people use a smartphone for. Yes, it's not going to give you the latest 800 series performance in terms of gaming, for example, but all round it does everything really, really well. Not quite as complete as the Samsung S20 FE, but then it's a lot cheaper as well. Just over £300, I think, right now. I'm not sure, but around that sort of figure. And the last phone in this mini segment, we've got lots more to come still, but in this mini segment of best kind of mid to budget phones, we have the Google Pixel 4a. Could throw in the Google Pixel 5 if you wanted to spend a little bit more. It is a more complete phone, but again, for the sort of budget to mid-range price of the Google Pixel 4a, I don't think you can go wrong if you want pretty much the best standalone camera available on the market. Yes, it doesn't have the bells and whistles again of an ultra wide or a telephoto lens, but for primary shots, normal shots and portrait shots, it's fantastic. OLED display, clean stock Google Android, and a Snapdragon 730G chip, which isn't the most powerful, but it handles most tasks outside of maybe heavy gaming extremely well. And the phone is pretty power efficient as well, so that the not huge 3140 mAh battery cell actually goes a little bit further than you would expect. I could have included the 2020 iPhone SE, fantastic chipset, great standalone camera, but the battery's really not that great and it's a really dated design on the front. So overall, what's the point in having an amazing chip if your phone dies quite quickly? Outside of that, if battery's not important to you, another good option. And while we're on iPhones, the best iPhone for me personally right now is the iPhone 12 Pro. Not the Pro Max, because I think with the new sharp sides, the width is ridiculously wide, making one-handed use and navigation, especially swiping back, for example, with your right hand. Unless you're left-handed, I still don't get why you can't do it from both sides on iOS. It's a little bit too big for me, and the advantages of the camera on the Pro Max compared to the Pro is negligible. I don't think the extra money for the camera is really worth it. One thing it does outperform the Pro on is battery, of course, but if you want a great battery on an iPhone, I would just personally go with the iPhone 11 Pro Max, which actually has a better battery than the 12 Pro Max. Confusing, but for me, the size of the Pro, it outweighs the extra battery on the Pro Max, and yeah. Next up, we have another very exciting phone which is on the horizon, and it is the Oppo Find X3 Pro. The Find X2 Pro from last year is still one of my favourite smartphones around right now. A fantastic phone, decent camera, looks great, brilliant display, and the Oppo Find X3 Pro is looking to build on an already winning formula. Similar to the OnePlus 9 Pro, we expect a 2021 spec bump, Snapdragon 888, 6.7-inch, 120Hz Quad HD Plus display, and a main focus on camera with a rumoured 50-megapixel rear primary sensor and a possible 25 times zoom microscope lens. Whatever that is, it sounds great. Can't wait to try it. As always, super pumped. I just hope they can bring the price down a little bit because I think it was a bit overpriced, this bad boy. You may have noticed we're coming to the end of the video, and I've got a cheeky bonus one for you, and that is the upcoming Nubia Red Magic Series 6. If you want a gaming phone, this might be the one to cop when it drops, apparently in and around the first half of this year. Again, we are due to see the Qualcomm Snapdragon 888. We're meant to see a really, really high refresh rate display. Great for gaming, of course, really smooth, decent sized battery, and of course some brilliant battery tech in terms of charging as well. Not a lot of information on this phone so far, but expect something pretty special if the rest of the Red Magic phones are anything to go by. Really, really solid gaming smartphones. Well done. And I can't wait for the next lot of folds as well. Can't wait to see what smartphone manufacturers come up with. That is going to be the next one. Rollables is going to be another one as well. Let me know in the comment section below what sort of smartphone you're looking or most excited to see this year. If you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, drop a subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and share it with your friends and family if they're interested in some of the best smartphones around right now, or possibly ones to look for in the future. You may be screaming at your screen now saying, he didn't include blah, 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 blah. There are thousands of smartphones that are all great, so if your favourite isn't on the list, I can only apologise. I'm sure it's great. Let me know in the comment section below what that phone is, why I should have included it, but be nice, because like I said, it's difficult to make a top list of phones when there's so many that are great. I love you, leave you, I'll see you in the next one. Says good wishing, peace out.